Yeah. So every single time I step out of my apartment, somebody from Fanny's unit down the hall suddenly has to get out into the hallway. It's weird. The timing is always impeccable. It happens right as I'm standing at my door locking up, which means that I'm like, I have nowhere to go. I have to lock up. I can't just walk away to avoid the weirdos that are constantly jumping out of that unit every single time I stand at my door and try to lock it. This happened like twice within the last few hours, and now it's happening a third time. They have to suddenly use the bathroom when I'm standing here trying to lock up my door to leave my unit. Who else is going to suddenly start jumping out of their units at me when I'm standing in the hallway or going down the stairs? Yeah, here we go.
Really fuck a recording of an individual coming off the bathroom.
You need to stay away from me.
Like,
I have the right to.
Make it make sense.
I have the right to stand at my door.
Make it make
Stay
sense.
away from me.
Make it make sense.
Stay away from me.
Like, you don't make no goddamn sense.
Stay away from me. Another BLM activist.
No wonder nobody wants to touch you.
Stay away from me.
You know stuff on the third. Maybe when you have that moment, that's okay.
Speak for yourself. You're the one who needs a dick, obviously. I don't get in people's faces. You do. See, they keep flying at me for no reason. That's the third time today this has happened. At least this time I was recording. I have no idea who that was. Another BLM activist, clearly. Okay, so back to locking up my apartment because I'm still not locked up here. I'm just trying to go to the store and mind my own business, right? I've got my bag and I'm ready to go. And all of a sudden, these pieces of shit are flying at me for no reason when I'm standing at my door just trying to lock it. It's weird. It happens like so often that it can't possibly be a strange coincidence. Third time in the last 2 hours that I've stood at my door trying to lock it, and somebody from that unit down the hall has suddenly come out of the unit and stood in the hallway and loitered or hung out. This is 87. Unit 86. I keep calling it 85. It's actually unit 86. So what I'm going to do right now is just wait a few minutes for that BLM activist who just got in my face for no reason as I'm standing at my door, looking at my phone, talking to my phone, and trying to lock my door. I'm just going to wait for that BLM activist to disperse because they could be hanging around the building. They obviously know that I'm about to leave. They saw me with my bag and my keys. And because it's dark and there's always a bunch of screaming, shouting, low-life psychos loitering around the building at night, getting in people's faces and harassing women who happen to walk by, I'm not entirely safe right now. I also can't use the front stairwell because the Greenville Group have denied a reasonable accommodation request that I had put in writing 7 months ago now, just for colored markers on the edges of the stairs for people who have visual issues to be able to more easily see the stairs, and for a handrail to be installed because there's no handrail in the front stairwell. You can't grab anything if you happen to lose your footing and start to fall. I've fallen down those stairs 3 times in the last 3-4 years and injured my ankles pretty badly. I'm talking about the front stairs in this building. So that's a lawsuit, and they're too stupid to do anything about it. Like 7 months later, I actually sent them a reminder of the colored marker request for the front stairwell just a few days ago because I continue to be unable to go down the front stairwell at all without severely running the chance of missing my footing. I don't see the bottom stairs at all. I don't even see the stairs here, except that at least there's a handrail that I can grab solidly. But back to the BLM activists who refuse to stop coming at me and getting in my face for no reason, as just demonstrated a few minutes ago in this video. When I am in the process of minding my own business and keeping to myself, when I'm standing in front of my own door trying to lock it as I'm trying to leave the building, and somebody walks up to me and confronts me for no reason. They could have gone the other way. They could have waited a few minutes. They deliberately got in my face. They could have just not said anything, right? They don't even live in this building. I've never seen that person before, and they obviously don't live here. And they were carrying a backpack and looked like they were traveling or something. I have no idea who that person was, but they don't live on this floor and they don't live in this building. They left the building. Then they're loitering around outside the building when I try to leave. So I'm just going to wait. What's with the slamming? These pieces of shit are so violent. It's unreal. Did you just hear that violent slamming? Like somebody slamming a door repeatedly? I didn't have the phone on record, unfortunately. So let's get one thing clear. The BLM activist who just got in my face as they were proceeding down the hall does not live in this building. They do not reside in Unit 86. They are not the resident of Unit 86. The resident of Unit 86 is Fanny Matchett, and Fanny Matchett on multiple occasions over the last few weeks has placed bags of trash at my door. One of the bags had some wet toilet paper from the inside of the toilet down the hall in it, and she put it in front of my door filled with water and wet toilet paper, and it damaged the flooring around my door. It caused the wood to swell with water damage. I have videos of that. The individual who you just saw deliberately proceeding down the hall and confronting me at my door, he could have just kept walking. And made some nasty comments about how I need a dick. That person does not live in Unit 86 and does not live in this building. So again, I'm concerned for my safety because now they're hanging around outside the building. They could be loitering around the sidewalks and doorways and egress passages around this building complex with the other screaming, perving, wanking, lowlife BLM psycho trash who constantly congregate in large numbers on the sidewalks around this building and harass people who try to walk by them. So yes, I'm a little concerned, but I have no choice but to leave the building right now. I have absolutely no more food. Where I'm going to get that food depends on what the situation is on and around the sidewalks surrounding this building and also at the train station, because these perving, creeping, wanking BLM lowlifes were congregating at the Green Street train station last night at 11 p.m. as a train that I was on was approaching and entering the station. So then I went to Forest Hills and hung out at Forest Hills for 20 minutes. And that same group of howling, barking BLM sex offender trash showed up at the Forest Hills station yesterday evening at approximately 11:15, 11:20 p.m. when I was hanging out at Forest Hills, avoiding the fact that they were at Green Street several minutes before. They drive around in this big silver SUV, and they're constantly following people around who they don't like because they have nothing else going on. They literally get paid to follow people around the city and harass them wherever they happen to go. How did they know I was at Forest Hills? Obviously, they're using some type of geo-tracking device like Apple AirTags on either my phone or my shoes. I'm usually wearing the same shoes, on my handbag, because I carry the same handbag everywhere. So it's not hard to follow people around these days and find out where they're going if you really want to. And because this is BLM, not only do they want to, they have the resources and technological advantage to do that. Yeah, so now everybody is leaving the building. I have videos from the MBTA station at Green Street and also at Forest Hills that was shot at 11:20 last night, after the same group of so-called BLM activists were howling and barking on the platform at the Green Street station and then showed up 20 minutes later on the platform and the lobby area of the Forest Hills station and were barking and shouting and howling. It's the same people. I mean, no two people can bark and howl and scream and shout in the identical fashion, 20 minutes apart, two stations, at two separate stations that are located just a few blocks from each other, without it being the same person. I mean, it's the same group of people that showed up at Green Street last night and then followed me to the Forest Hills train station and were standing on the platform and in the lobby area of the Forest Hills train station, howling and barking and howling and barking. And that sounds like Charles Thomas, the same sex offender who's been literally following me around and harassing me and threatening me for years, trying to come at me in any way he possibly can. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts arrested Mr. Thomas in January of 2022 for threatening to kill me. Mr. Thomas has an extensive history of following me around this building complex and also showing up at the Green Street T station and then confronting me at the Green Street T station. I have videos of that from 2019. This is just a piece of shit that has nothing else going on. And what Mr. Thomas does is barks and howls like a dog deliberately, or maybe that's his brother, Christopher Thomas, same family. I mean, might as well be the same person. Christopher Thomas, Charles Thomas could be the same person using two different names, could be two members of the same family who behave identically and look identical. I'm not sure. They all claim to be BLM activists, though, and they all have a problem with women, especially when they think that these women owe them something. Strange, I don't, and I never will. So stay the fuck out of my face, lowlifes. Okay, I just figured out who the piece of trash is that just got in my face a few minutes ago when I was standing at my door just trying to leave the building and lock up. And somebody kept jumping out to the hallway from Unit 86. That person used to live on the third floor. They used to live in Unit 76 directly below me. Sorry, Unit 86. This person originally was in, let me start again. The person who came out of the bathroom on my floor a few minutes ago and got in my face as I was standing at my door trying to lock up and leave the building, that person used to reside directly below me in 76. Earlier this evening, that person was evidently hanging out with Fanny, located in Unit 86 down the hall from me. However, the person who just got in my face has the same exact voice as the former resident of Unit 76, who has an extensive history of coming up to my door and getting violent and aggressive against my door. I'd recognize that nasal, sort of gay voice affectation anywhere. That person was also hanging out in the alley behind this building back in January of this year and tried to grab the phone out of my hand as I was approaching the alley and as I was starting to cross the area of the alley. That same piece of shit that just confronted me at my door 5 minutes ago was also hanging out in the alley behind this building back in January of 2025, who tried to grab my phone in January of 2025 as I was walking down the sidewalk at night, passing by the alley. I would recognize that person's voice anywhere. I am now extremely good at identifying voices because I do not see faces. I listen to people's voices and I'm able to identify voices very well, much better than I can identify faces at this point. So that voice I would recognize anywhere because that's the same person who spent several years coming up to my door from directly below in 76 and slamming and banging things against my door and throwing items at my head as I was standing at my door and taking the phone out of my hand as I was standing at my door. That's the same piece of shit that tried to take the phone out of my hand this past January. But this past January, they were no longer residing in Unit 76. They were obviously just hanging out around the building at night. And that is probably what they are doing right now, because as you saw, they just left the building looking like they are homeless, like they're carrying a bunch of bags and a backpack, and they do not reside in this building, as far as I can tell. However, the Greenville Group and their property manager, the Crooked Russian Slumlords, Oleg Eliseyev, and the property owner, Alex Kritnik, are huge supporters and sponsors of BLM, Black Lives Matter. And that's why there are such large numbers of BLM activists living in this building, that this entire building, along with the one across the street, are almost entirely BLM activists. There are no other ethnicities or racial groups or even genders other than BLM male activists who have problems with women, especially women of other races and ethnicities. They refuse to leave women alone, and I would be one of those women. So again, the person who just confronted me at my door is the same person who was officially residing directly below me in Unit 76. And as I keep observing and noting, there's a violent individual accessing the premises of Unit 76 directly below mine on a regular basis. It could be the former resident of Unit 76 who still has a key or is able to pick locks, because a lot of the slamming and banging that I experience, along with the sickening amounts of marijuana and cigar smoke that come up through my floor from directly below in 76, happen at night. And this person, who is obviously carrying a lot of bags and seems to be traveling, might be traveling to or from this building at night for the sole purposes of accessing their former unrented vacant unit, Unit 76, and then engaging in some activistic surveillance-based harassment of me and my person based on what they obviously have knowledge of me trying to do in the privacy of my living space on an hour-by-hour basis, thanks to the surveillance devices that the property manager and property owner, Alex Kritnik and Oleg Eliseyev, have been using and permitting the use of in my living space for over 10 years now. Just for the record, today is Saturday, November 8th, 2025. It's approximately 8 p.m. I've been trying to leave my unit for several hours, and each time I have tried to leave my unit over the last few hours, somebody from down the hall in Unit 86 would jump out into the hallway and get agitated outside or around the premises of the common bathroom located just outside Unit 86 down the hall from my unit. And therefore, I have delayed my departure from this building for several hours. And now, as you saw in the last few minutes, as I was standing at my door trying to lock up and mind my own business and was filming myself locking up my door, as I always do, the piece of shit from directly below in 76, a former resident of 76 and presumed occasional habitator of Unit 76 directly below on an intermittent basis, thanks to the sponsorship of Oleg Eliseyev, just got in my face again in the same exact way that they have been getting in my face at my door multiple times over the last 3 years. I don't know this person's name. I know there were multiple police reports previously filed about them literally following me around in this building, coming at me in the stairwells and doorways and at my door when they repeatedly came up to my door on probably 10 occasions between 2021 and 2024. And violently harassed and assaulted me at my door, throwing things at my head, taking the phone out of my hand, running out of the building with my phone. That is the same exact person who was standing before me just a few minutes ago as I was standing at my door locking it up. And this follows the same exact identical pattern of harassment at my door that this person has been engaging in towards me when I'm at my door as they started engaging in back in 2021. Same exact person. I have to file a police report.